we will talk about the vector concept in R. To get an additional information of the nature of the vector, such as categorical data or labels, we consider vector concept. As you know, categorical data or labels refers to data in which the data is classified only into certain predetermined types, such as gender, blood type, and so on. So sometimes if you classify your big data with the vector concept, we easily control our big data according to the categorical data. So vectors consist of non-overlapping values, labels of the all values in the vector. So vector can be generated with vector can be generated with the vector function or as dot vector. As you can see on the screen, we can generate a vector with vector concatenated function C. So please look at the first comment. When you look at first comment, I named the variable name for imagining of the real data. So I made vector in first comment. So I made the variable name before underbar vector. Sorry. So after using as dot vector functions with the before underbar vector variable, we can change from vector to vector. So I named the variable name with the after underbar vector. So after putting the two variables in console, we can check their data in each variable, right? So in case of the before underbar vector variable, it stores the vector data, but in case of the after underbar vector variable, it stores vector data, right? So naturally we can get the label concept. So even though there are two women and two men's data in this space, but we can classify these data according to the label. So we can cluster each data with the label concept. So there are only two labels here, right? Man or woman. After using the class function with the after underbar vector variable, we can get the information. Oh, this variable is the vector data type. We can also use the mode function. So if we use the mode function, we can get more specific the data type of the vector element. So internally, after using vector data concept, the vector have a numeric the value for each element of the vector. For example, man is the number 1 level, woman is the number 2 level. So internal data type of the vector is numeric. So with mode function, we can get the numeric data type. How about the type of function? If we use this function, we can get the integer value. So what is different between numeric and integer? In case of the numeric, it can cover both integer and double data type. So integer value is just the integer number, but double data type covers the integer with the fraction of the specific float numbers, right? So my point, if we use the type of function, we can get the more specific the numeric data type, whether it is integer or double. But as I talk to you, if we use the factor concept, the first level is number 1 and second level is number 2. So that is the integer number, right? Because there's no the fraction of the data, such as the uh, float type like that. So we can get the integer after using type of function. How about str function? We already learned about str function, maybe in second week. So if we use the str function, we can get more sophisticated the information about the data, right? So that is the factor data type, and there are two levels, and the levels integer number is 2, 1, 1, 2, right? So because when you look at this one, the W is the after alphabet M, right? So the M is the level 1 and W is level 2. So when you compare real data with the level number, that is the number 2, that is the number 1, and number 1 and number 2. So as I talked to you before, the factor internally changes the data type into the number, the integer numbers. Please remember it, all right? And then if we use the attributes function with the factor, uh, the result can be shown with the labels information and class like that. So you can also use the attribute function flexibly, all right? And if you use the labeled function, we can get the two categorical data in real data type. So as I talk to you, we can generate vector with the C function. Okay. Okay, we can go to the next example. How about the vector with data frame? That is the very practical example for your um, the research or real the application, I think. So please look at the right sides in detail. So in the first comment, we can make the vector with numeric data type. So the weight variables towards this vector, and we can also make the data frame with original vector with the vector. So vector and vector can be composed for the data frame underbar C underbar vector variable. So I named the data frame variable name with this one because we can imagine about data frames, the data, right? So we made data frame with C, I mean vector and vector. So when you put the variable name in console, you can get the result like that. So the weight is composed of vector, integer vector, and gender is composed of vector, right? Mm-hmm. And you can also use the class or mode and type of and str function step by step for checking the real data type and the hidden data type in RStudio. So we can imagine the results for the class function very quickly. That is the data frame, right? But if we use the mode function here, different from our uh, predictions, the result is a list. We already learned about the list in a previous video, right? So list is very similar with the vector, but list can cover heterogeneous data type, right? With the one dimension. My point, even though data frame is the multi-dimensional data structure, when we consider and when you check the data frame um, in the figure or textbook and slides, but in computer, specifically in memory, data frame can be stored with the one-dimensional concept. So one-dimensional and heterogeneous data type is the least. So internally, computer and many kinds of languages, as well as the R, stored data frame with the least data structure in memory. So if we use the mode or type of function for the example of this data frame, we can get the result with the list. All right? Okay. And how about the str function? If we use the str function about this variable, we can get the more sophisticated information, such as the data type name and how many observations are possible, and specifically what kind of vector and factors are there like that. Okay, so please remember 4 kinds of functions. We will cover 4 functions later in this video, so don't worry about it. And if you use the box plot function with vector, and plot type, we can get this figure naturally. All right. So when you look at the data frame underbar C underbar vector variable, there are 2 columns are there. The first column is the vector, right? And second column is vector, right? So we want to draw these columns of this data frame with the horizontal type. So we can get this graph very quickly and easily. As you know, R is very famous and representative language for the visualization, right? So we can quickly visualize our big data with R. So that is one of the example for that. Okay, all right. And you can do your exercise in RStudio or by yourself, all right? Okay, how about rearranging label order? So the left figure is the same with the previous page of the right place. So we don't need to explain the left side. My point is, if you rearrange from the left side, the figure, to the right side, what is different? Yeah, we rearrange the label order, right? So for that, you should use the special character, this one. Okay, so when you look at this one, we can rearrange the label order with this comment grammar. So we consider this data frame with the specific gender without weight variable, right? So we only focus on the gender, the variable, right? And we want to make another factor. We want to make another factor with this parameter based on the labels. So the labels was changed from man and woman to the woman and man, right? So we put the new labels in second parameter place, okay? After that, we can check the result with the str function um, as well as the uh, type as well as the typing of the data frame underbar C underbar factor variable name. Okay. Anyway, with the str function, we can get the specific information with the start from woman to man. So that we intended the change between two the levels, right? So you should compare this one and this one. So the internal number was changed to 2. Okay, okay, good. So after box plots usage, we can get the rearranged the graph here. Okay, so you can do this page with enough time also, all right? Okay, sometimes we can subset table by label and dropping labels. So please compare these figures with this one. What is different? Yeah, we dropped one label, right? So we cut the woman's label. How can you do that? We can use the subset function. Okay, so we can use the subset function with this data frame, and we only consider gender type is man, right? So after subset function, we can uh, save the new results into the new variable name. So I additionally put the partial word in front of the previous variable name because we can distinguish each variable data type, right? So after checking the data of this variable, we recognize there is only the man gender information here, right? And after use the labels function, we can also check the gender type with the woman and man. But we wonder why the woman is still there. The label function can get the result, the original, original and the first the data of the uh, data type, data frame. So sometimes we want to recover the original data, or sometimes we want to remind the original data, right? So in this case, we can use the labels function. So after uh, using box plots with the subsets, we can get this graph. But even though no records are available for W, the plot function allocates a slot for that level, right? It is very inefficient for the figure and recognition, right? To reserve this, we can additionally use the drop labels function to remove or unused labels. So after using drop function label, we can change the left graph to the right side. So that is very clear and the cognitive the graph and natural graph, right? So to use the drop label function, we can consider the drop label function with the partial data frame, and then after drop label function, even though we use the labels, after that the original the data were disappeared. So the M data is only existed here. So please be careful the drop label function. Sometimes we want to recover the original function, but we cannot be recovered sometimes. So you should compare the left side and right side with the distinguishable figures together. Okay, all right. So I want to check your understanding with the simple R comment of a vector. So when you look at this one, the first comment shows a single vector, right? The vector is composed of character or string, right? And the vector variable name is float. But after using the vector function of the float variable, the x is generated with the vector variable name, right? So if you check the x variable, we can get the O, A, B, A categorical data type. There is no redundant or repeated data type data here, right? So label is only O, A, B because in labels we don't need to redundant the data, right? So A blood types can be shown with the single character A, right? Okay, so labels is 3. And how about the label number, the internal number? As I talked to you, uh, O, A, B, A can be have uh, the A and A is the starting the alphabet's character in order, right? And then B, and then after many characters, we can check the O, right? So we can get the labels number based on the order of the alphabet. So we can check the each comment in RStudio together, right? So after typing here, but maybe um, there are some errors about the double quotes when we copy in PowerPoint and paste in RStudio as I talked to you before. So I recommend you delete all elements and then passively type here. I think it is more quick way for that. So we can consider this one and this one, and we can check the variable, and then we can use the summary function, right? So when you use this one, the length is 4, and then class is character, and mode is character 2, right? How about this? If you use the print function together, you can get same result here, right? How about the str? Let's here, yeah. We can get the character from 1 to 4, and the labels, not labels, the characters are here. And then if we put tasks the labels, there is no labels here because the if you want to use the labels functions, labels can get the labels attribute of a variable. All right. So in this case, there is no label information because there is the single vector here. So there is no label. So you can compare this example with the data frame. In this data frame, there are 2 labels. So that is different point. And how about the all right, class function plus that is character. How about mode plus that is character 2. How about time of? Yeah, character. Okay. We can make a vector with the blood vector together. So blood vector and vector blood. After that, if you check the blood under the vector variable, in this case, the data type is a vector, right? So we can get labels information different from the vector, right? So my point, sometimes we should compare each data type with the atomic vector because vector can be one element or the columns data set for, for other data types such as data frame or list and so on. So naturally we should compare the different points between vector and other data types. In this example, now we can compare vector and vector, right? So different from the blood variable because that is the vector, right? Blood on the vector variable is the vector, right? So naturally we can get the labels information. And as I talked to you, A is the first, the beginning alphabets of the alphabet all list, right? So labels, A is first and AB is second because AB blood type it started with A, right? So that is the second one, and the O is the last one. All right? Okay. And how about str function? Do you test this? Yeah, we can get sophisticated information. Blood underbar vector variable is vector. with level 3, A, B, O, right? But as I talked to you, O is the third element of the level, right? So the number is 3. How about A? A is number 1, right? And AB is the number 2. A is number 1, right? So naturally, we can get this information. So we can't modify the errors. But how about summary? Summary function. Summary function is the generic function used to produce result summaries of all possible cases. All right. So let's vectors here. In this case, the A can be shown with 2 times in original data, and the AB is number 1 and O is number 1, right? So after summary function, we can get the number of each character, the redundant number, right? So sometimes we can extend our application or code on top of the redundant, the number of uh, the component of the vector with the conditional cases. So we should know how can we get the redundant number with the summary function, or how can we get the labels internal number with the str function. So this number information and the summary number information is different, right? So you should know it. So in this case, the slide shows the O is the just one, A is the number 2 for the redundant number, and AB is also number 1, right? So you can fill the meaning of the each comment, and you can also add your own comments, the bottom part. For example, as I talk to you, you can consider str, all right? Str function of x, and you can change the variable name too. And then you can get the result here, blah, blah, like this. Okay, so please the exercise of all slides with enough time in our studio, and paste your own Word file at the bottom part. Okay. So we can paste at the bottom parts of the Word file. Okay. All right. So you can fill up every part and complement each comment flexibly. All right. So today we talk about vector with various kinds of functions, such as mode, class, type of, str, as a summary, right? So you can add the summary functions too. So, for example, you can paste, and you can also add the summer with plot types here, summary case. right? Okay, so please take photo of these slides with your cell phone and frequently check this photo. I summarized the um, the class mode type of str summary function for getting data object type and structure in detail. So we categorize the data type from integer to the factor. So integer, double, character, string, vector, metric, array, data frame, list, factor. So there are 10 data types in first row, all right? And we can check each data type with class function, mode function, type of function, str function, as well as a summary function. So you can check each example flexibly with these functions per each data type, similar to me. For example, I test integer case with this one. So I consider a single integer data, and then I use the mode function, class function, type of function. But even though integer data type number 10, in case of the type of, the result is double, right? Mode and class function shows the numeric data type of the 10. So it is very natural, right? But why we can't uh, get the double after type of function? Even though we can show the number 10 without the fraction part with the dots, I mean 10 is not the 10.0, right? So my point is the y variable store number 10, right? And y did not save the selection part, but the result of the type of is double because computer and R interpreter internally save with the largest the number in memory space for future, right? So um, internally in memory space, the computer save the numeric data uh, with the double data type because the double data type needs more larger space of the memory than integer. So that is one of the cores, the case in programming concept, but that is just a reference, don't worry about it. But if you want to course the transform from the double to the integer, we can use the capital L. So after this comment and type of function, we can get the integer data type. So when we compare the mode and class function with the type of, with this grammar, numeric can cover double and integer. So that is the whole concept. But if we use the type of function, we can get more specific the numeric data type, and we can also course transform to the integer from double with the capital L. And how about str function? In this case, there is only a single number, right? So after str function, we can get this result in detail. So integer number 10. Okay. All right. How about summary? We put that is a vector, so we better put this place for vectors picture. Okay, we can do it together. Can str is summary here. Yeah. After summary function, the integer 10 have the expectation number and median number and the mean and max value. But there is just 10 single number, so the results are same. Alright. So you can make your own example for double character string, and then you can do exercise in RStudio in practice, and you can also cut the proper example and paste here, similar to me. If you limit space for each column, you can make the next page with this one, and you can paste here. Okay, so it is up to you. And in case of a vector, I made vector with heterogeneous numeric data type. So if we use the mode function, we can get the numeric. If we use the type of function, naturally there is the double data type, right? So we can get the largest data types here. And if we use the class function, similar to the mode and class function in an integer case, we can get numeric data type. Okay, and then if we use the str function, there are 4 elements are there, so we can get this result with the reserved word. All right. Okay. And how about lists? We learned about list in a previous video, right? With enough time. So if you make the list, and then if we use the mode and class function, we can get list. In case of a list, the hidden or internal data type in memory is the same with the mode and class function. So the type of result is also list. And if we use the str function, the list has 3 components such as number, character, logical, right? So we can get specific information here. How about vector? Today, in this video, we learned about vector, right? So we already learned about this example with enough time. So before on the vector variable, after on the vector variable, and so on. And the levels are 2. If you use the class and mode function, if you use the class, that is just the class, the category of the data type, right? So the vector is shown. How about mode? Mode is the numeric, because the mode is the vector's real data type after vector function, right? So the numeric can be shown. How about the type of the among numeric data type? The levels number is integer, so the integer is shown here, right? So class CMT can be enumerated for checking the data type step by step. So CMT, right? And in case of STR, we can get sophisticated the results with the factor and levels. And in addition, in case of factor, we can use the attributes functions with the factor. So we can get labels and class information with attribute functions, okay? And we can also use the labels functions uh, in case of the factor, all right? So, okay, so we learned about the factors and um, the how can we check the data object type and structure in R today. So you should do all exercised in R Studio with enough time, okay? Okay, the last page is just a reference. How can you coursing data from one type to another? So that is the flipped learning example. So you can test enough examples with these functions when you test and fill each columns with your own data examples, okay? So if we use the edge dot numeric or edge dot double, we can convert from integer to double data type. In case of edge.integer function, we can convert from the double to integer. Similar to previous cases, we can also use the edge.character, edge.vector, edge.logical for converting to character vector Boolean data types. All right, so you can test all cases and then you can paste with your Word file. Okay, and you can also fill up all function cases flexibly. We already covered many functions um, this week video, such as uh, this one, this one. All right. So you can do all by yourself and fill up to each cases. All right. Okay. Today we learned about factors with enough functions. So please review all examples and slides all by yourself and paste your old traces in your Word file. All right? Don't hesitate to ask any questions to me via KakaoTalk, email, or iCampus messages. Okay? Thank you for listening. See you next video. Bye bye.